Lined off.
They're away.
Coming there effortless now to complete an Oaks double. Jamie Spencer looks around and toys with the opposition as Sariska both in to win his second Oaks for Jamie Spencer and Michael Bell.
But Big Orange can. He's galloping on relentlessly. Palisade, the sword fighter, fighting out second and third with Sheikh Zayed Road running on late. But Big Orange, this big horse, will once again put up a big performance. Back-to-back Catter Goodwood Cup.
And you can see those big race wins still mean the world to a man who's been a champion jockey in England and in Ireland, has ridden for all the major superpowers all around the world. And he's still going strong, or at least I think he is, Jamie Spencer. Welcome. Thanks very much for coming in. It's been a while. We've been trying to do this a while, haven't we?
Yeah. So something seems to crop up, but I couldn't get out of it this week.
So does it still mean as much as it looks as it means, riding these big race winners? Do you still have that hunger, that fire, that drive, that desire?
Yeah, of course. You wouldn't do it otherwise. You know, it's what it's all about. Just winning is what it's all about. You know, it's what we get up in the morning to do, and most of the time it's losing, but when you win, it's pleasant.
Are you in a sort of place in your career now that you're pretty happy with? You know who you are, you know what you want, you've got everything just how you'd like it?
Yeah, but I'm pretty realistic. You know, you know when you know you've got to ride. Sometimes a good horse will come along, and sometimes you might have to wait a year or two for another good one, and you wait for a good spare ride. So yeah, I'm realistic, and as long as I'm healthy and I'm happy and I'm enjoying it, I'll continue to do so.
1998, you rode your first classic winner on Tarascon in the Irish Guineas. Can you remember it very clearly, that period, or was it all a bit of a blur at the time? I can remember I was having a brutal season anyway. I was thinking it was my third season riding, and I'd ridden one winner, which was like on the Tuesday before. So we were 2.5 months into the season. I'd ridden one winner, so it wasn't going very well. And then I remember, I think on the Tuesday I wrote her work with I had no idea I was riding her, and then when I didn't know I was riding her until the declarations came out. I was looking at the apprentice race, seeing if I had a ride, and then Tommy Stack had never said anything to me, and then that morning he just said, "Oh, you're on her." And yeah, obviously it's something you can't quantify or you'll never be able to explain properly, but yeah, I can still remember most of it. Yeah, I can remember in the after my race, I went to have a shower, and Mick Kinnan came in, and he said to me, just sit down and take a breath. He said, because this doesn't come around every day, and he said you'll have a lot more disappointments than this, and he was right. What was it like then, sharing a sort of classic weighing room with people like Kinnan? There's apps at Christy Roach, Kinnan, then Murta, and the late Pat Smullen.
Yes, you learned off them every day, because it's like everything. You're a sponge, and you try and watch things what they're doing. Christy Roach was very good to me. He used to always give us lifts racing, because he used to sweat at the apprentice school. So even though I wasn't a prodigy of the apprentice school, I used to live there. And he used to look after him as well, and he always looked after the apprentices, and he was good. And Mick Kinnan was a man of few words, but like when he did say something, he took heed. And they were all different. Johnny was different. He could be a bollock and be on your case. And he was a tough, rough rider. He was a hardy rider, and Pat wouldn't give you an inch. So that was the dominance of Irish racing at the time.
and well, the dominance that's only grown and grown and grown. I mean, has that surprised you at all, or could you see even then that there were the aspects of the sport in Ireland that were just a little smarter and better organised?
Well, I think, Mick Cannon, I think he opened the doors for everybody. People could see that the Irish riders were more than capable of holding it on the big stage, and obviously, Christy had won derbies, but Mick was doing it, every week. He was popping on a plane over and winning the big races. So, and, as a kid growing up, you watch all that, so obviously you get intrigued by it all.
Tommy Stack, the man who trained Tarascon, he and his family have been pretty important to you down the years, haven't they?
Yeah, well, I went to school with Fozzie, so listen, I've known him since I was knee height of a grasshopper. So yeah, Tommy's brilliant. Give you anything bar money, but fantastic man, and he was always very good to me. And yeah, it's a long time ago since I was there. Obviously, I started with Liam Brown, but I was at Stack's twice a week, so it was good times.
And was it always destiny that you would move at some point to the UK? Did you feel that was always a likelihood when you were in those early days?
Yeah, I didn't really want to come, but Barney Curley convinced me. He said, you need to move to England. There's a bigger platform and more opportunities. I can even remember coming on the New Year's Eve of the millennium and saying to myself, I'll give it 3 months. If I don't like it, I'll go home. But it's like you start having a few winners and everything seems to be going okay. I got lucky because Frankie had a plane crash and Kieran had this fall at Ascot, and they were predominantly riding for Luca Kamani. I was riding for him at Ripon and up north when he had runners, and from the start of June they were riding them all to within 3 weeks both of them were out of action for the foreseeable future. So you get a lucky break, and that's the way life is. And you just hope you can take the opportunity. And I was lucky then. I had 3 seasons with Luca.
You mentioned Barney Curley. Of every guest we've had on this programme, his interview was the one that people will always ask about, and he was this sort of talismanic figure for so many. Can you try and articulate why he made your life different? What it was about him?
Because he didn't command respect, but you gave him respect. I wasn't afraid of Barney, but I respected him enough that I didn't want to disappoint him. So, and there was often times I did disappoint him, but essentially that was first and foremost in your mind. Don't disappoint him, because he really, he is 100% in your corner. There's nothing in it for him, and it's only because he wanted to nurture your talent and help you to be the best jockey and person you could be.
So was it quite sort of arbitrary, because obviously he had a big strong relationship with you and with Frankie Dettori, and slightly more latterly with Tom Queally? Are these just people that he felt a connection with, that he identified a talent in, and that he felt for whatever reason needed putting on the right path? Was that what was driving him?
I guess so, yeah. Obviously his son had died. I met Barney a year after Charlie had died, so I had never met Charlie, and I guess I was of a similar age at the time, and he nurtured my talent, and obviously my own father had passed away before then, so yeah, he was basically like a father figure to me, and I was very lucky to have him.
What do you think was the most important direction that he steered you in? What was the single most important bit of advice that he gave you?
He said you'll have loads of friends when everything's going well, obviously, and the back patters and telling you everything's great, but to believe in yourself when it's going against you. The ball doesn't bounce your way all the time, in no way or form of life. So just to believe in yourself when it's stacked against you, and I think it stood me in good stead. I've always, even when it's going against me, I always, in my mind, I say, what's the worst thing that can happen? I can lose the race. I haven't shot somebody. So in my mind, because you have to you have to relax, you know. And if you go out into a race nervous or tense, well, the horse will feel it, and that's the first thing he's going to feel it, and it's a waste of time. So you just have to believe in yourself every day, whether it's going good or bad. If you're on a losing run at 25 or 30 or 50 or whatever, you still have to go out and do the exact same as you would have done. And it's easier said than done, but that's I think he taught me that more than anything else.
And that, you know, that helps a career grow, but it also helps a career last. And we were talking to Brendan Powell earlier in the show, young guy still, but in his 11th season riding, started off doing great, had his issues, wheels fell off a bit, is starting to come back a little bit now. I mean, of everyone who's riding, of any international jockey, you've had this incredibly interesting and varied and different career that's taken lots of different twists and turns and lots of different chapters. Do you think that's kind of just reflective of the person that you are, or is that just happenstance?
I think I give 100%, you know, off the track with, you know, riding out and doing all that sort of stuff. You have to enjoy it, you know. It's not really work, though, when you're enjoying it. So, obviously, in 2020, I had a bad injury, so that set me back more than I could allow for at the time. And I tried to, you know, like everything, you try to rush back and you say you're fine, but even till I had an operation last November to get the metalwork out of my leg, I still had like pain the whole time. So, going to work and being in pain is not ideal. So, other than that, I think I've had a consistent like 25 years of being very lucky. You know, every time you get a fall, Ryan had that bad fall at Goodwood, I was coming behind, and basically it was like a car crash, and I injured my thumb, and he got absolutely mangled. So, you know, your luck runs out in the end. So I guess I was due a fall and I was due an injury. So that's the way I look at it.
It was worse than we thought, and I know you were trying to kind of keep a bit back, and I get that completely.
Yeah, it's, you know, hip and femur is a very difficult area because obviously it's the strongest bone in your body. So when you fracture it, it takes a bit of time. But yeah, I spoke a lot to Barry Curley about it, and like, I have huge admiration for them, because you see, he's broke his leg, he's back within 3 months, they're riding over jumps. Or Rachel Blackmore, she's come back from a bad injury. Like, you have to admire them, because, you know, the inevitability is that they're going to fall very soon. Whereas on the flat, yeah, you get one every now and again, but it's not guaranteed.
Has that changed your... yeah, exactly, touch wood. Has that I'm not sure that is wood, though. Has that changed your mentality about the way you think? I mean, is that... Would you have said this to me 3 or 4 years ago, the same, even before the injury?
Well, till you experience something, you don't understand it. So you kind of you read somebody's injured and you say, oh, he'll be back soon. But when you're going... The rehabilitation is the hardest part. The injury is not that bad. It's the rehabilitation is the hardest part. And just every day trying to build your body back up, and yeah, it's demanding.
I mean, given the experience you've had and given the people you've ridden for, you must have an almost unique perspective on the international horse racing scene. Going into Ballydoyle to ride as #1 jockey for Aidan O'Brien back in the early 2000s, when you first took up the job, when you'd done a week or two there, what were you thinking?
I hope we find a good horse. Yeah, you know, you take your chance, hope, and you know, it wasn't to be how it panned out, but you know, you just got to move on. So that's when it's stacked against you, you put your head down and go to work and try and prove to people that you can still ride horses. And you know, I've ridden a handful of Group 1s probably for Aidan since then. So
yeah, your relationship sustained. And
I was meant to ride a couple of horses last year. For one reason or another, it didn't happen. One didn't run. So, you know, it's I always get the odd spare ride. So it is what it is.
I mean, was it just, you think, the fact that there weren't enough good horses in the stable at the time?
Yeah, maybe Christy Roach always said to me I was too young going there, and before I even went. And you know, hindsight's a great thing. Maybe I was too young.
Did you ever think twice about taking the job, though?
Oh, really? No.
No. You couldn't, could you?
Everybody wants the best horses, don't they?
You couldn't?
Yeah, it's the best horses. So it's like I had a very sheltered life up till then. So I was riding for Luca, and I was second jockey to Frankie at Godolphin. So it was an easy job. Like Godolphin was in those days 50, 60 horses, but I think 1 year I had 8 rides. So it's not really it wasn't a massive job then. But then you're cast into the limelight and scrutinised every day, and it wasn't easy. And you're an easy target for the people that have built you up. You're an easy target for them to knock you back down. So I learned a lot that year and after that, and it stuck with me. Keep your circle of friends tight, and because you'd be lucky to count 5 real friends in your hand. Anybody count 10, I'd be doubtful.
Did you just then exercise that reserve a little bit more? Because you were pretty open. You were a pretty open young guy, and then you did what you needed to do. That's what struck me. You said what you needed to say after that.
Yeah, JP McManus always says you never improve your position in life by speaking. It's a true saying. Just less said, easier mended, isn't it? It's like most of the time I get asked to quote on different things, and I have an opinion on it, but what's the point? You kind of just let them all speak about it. Speak amongst themselves or with people I'd trust or I'd have an interest having a conversation with about it. But speaking out in public doesn't really end well, does it?
And of course, in the end, it was actually fairly short period of your life where you were at Ballydoyle, and you came back to the UK. I think a lot of us have very vivid memories of that season where you came back and took the championship in 2005, and then even more vivid memories perhaps of when you shared the championship with Seb Sanders. To what extent were you really driving yourself with a point to prove at that time?
Well, sink or swim, isn't it? You kind of just have to get stuck in and just go to work and hope did you have winners. And when you're living it, you don't really understand it. It's only when you reflect on it afterwards you think, God, I was actually, I did a lot of work in doing Haydock in the afternoon and Carlisle in the evening, and then driving home. You look back, it's like a blur really, because one day runs into the next, and it's basically been like that for 25 years. You basically you start in January, mooch about maybe Dubai or some part of the Emirates, then you go flat out from March to November, have a couple of months off, and then repeat. It's just like going around in circles. But I think that's why a lot of jockeys probably find it hard to adjust to life when they don't ride, because you're off the hamster wheel.
Is your brain already starting to think about easing your way off?
Not really, not like that. But I'd say, when Richard Dunwoody retired, I was thinking, why did he not do something in racing already? But he just obviously couldn't handle the scenario of being involved in the sport that meant the most to him. So he had to take a complete, cut it out completely. And because I'm guessing he would have had lots of offers to do various different things within the sport, but he didn't. And I can understand that now, having been in the sport for so long, that he found it so hard not to, you're on the periphery rather than being bang smack in the action.
But I'm guessing that, I know that you love lots of things about the sport that aren't riding horses. You like the buying and selling, you like the bloodstock side of it, you enjoy analysing form, you'll be watching races from America and Australia, and you're interested in it all, not just what you're riding on any given day.
Of course, you're interested. You have to be committed. So whether you're training a horse, riding a horse, buying a horse, whatever, you have to be committed. If you're doing things half-cocked, you're going to make mistakes. So I follow the form and don't preach about it, but I'd like to think that I keep a close eye on everything.
But what I mean is you enjoy the whole. It's not just because some jockeys are motivated by what they are riding on any given day and riding as many winners as they possibly can.
Yeah,
that's not motivating you now, is it?
Not really. You're committed to your job, but I like all the aspects of the sport. So it's been good to me. I've been lucky. Been luckier than most probably.
And when I look back on it, or when you look back on it and you look at all those lovely horses you've ridden and all the classic winners you've ridden, and the fact that you're still doing it with just the same sort of style as you did 20 years ago, it seems hard for me to reconcile that with the fact that you actually were going to walk away from it and say, I don't want to ride anymore.
Yeah.
Do you look back on that and think that was quite weird now, or not?
Possibly, but probably I'm unemployable. Probably outside race. You know, I don't think I'd be able to do a job like 9 to 5, or if I was, you know, having to. When you're working for yourself, you work all day long. Mm-hmm. But if you're working for somebody else, it's kind of, you're going to work, aren't you? You clock on and clock off. So I don't think I'm too far down the line for that now.
So it's always going to be working for yourself.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But why did you nearly pack it in?
It's just, you get sick of your work after sometimes, you know, and then, you know, you take time off and then you want to go back to work. It's like everything, you know, if you do everything the same day, all the same thing every day for on and on and on, it sometimes becomes repetitive. But I had a few months off and I said to myself, well, I enjoy riding horses. I'm still doing it reasonably well, so why not? And you know, I've never one day ever regretted not doing it.
Do you ever wonder why people are sort of unusually fascinated in you and your career?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm only doing the same as everybody else. Do some days I say to myself, oh, I wish I'd done better, or you know, you know, everybody wants more, much wants more, isn't it? You want to do better. So yeah, you just hope. Like I started 2021 knowing that I didn't have a good horse to ride, and it was always going to be a case of picking up a good spare ride to win a good race. So if you don't have good 2-year-olds, you're not going to have good 3-year-olds. So I rode a handful of reasonably smart 2-year-olds back in the last year that I'm excited about going to ride. You know what it's like. You pitch up and ride them in the middle of March. One hasn't grown and it's just stayed the same, and then sometimes the one you least expect to improve is the one that's like transformed. So that's the beauty of the sport. You never know. It's not like I'm clocking into work in a shop and I know where I'm going to be at 5 o'clock in the evening and I'm 5:30 on Friday and that's it. You know, you still live with that burning fire within you of finding a good horse.
Okay, I sort of think I'm getting there now. I sort of get the feeling that in your career we sort of come to expect the unexpected. There's always something slightly different around each corner that's made life a bit more interesting, a bit more exciting.
Yeah.
Do you think subconsciously you've occasionally just thrown all the balls up in the air to see where they'll land? That you need to stimulate yourself. You need a new challenge. You need something else. You couldn't just do the same thing all the time.
No, and you just well, obviously every morning you go into gallop, you know, especially this time when in a month's time you start galloping 2-year-olds or cantering maybe the more later types. You know, you get excited. Most of them are going to be slow, but you know, every now and again you get out on one and you go, whoa. You know, it's hard to explain what the feeling when you ride a smart one. It's just exciting. You know, it's what we do.
What's the best feeling you've ever had on a horse?
It's easy to say when I was riding Sariska, it was easy because she was better than the horses around her. So you could do whatever you wanted on her, and she'd win. So yeah, I guess winning the Irish Oaks on her was a pretty special day. And you know, for probably one of my most special moments was when I won on Brian Boru, because Kieran Kelly had just died a month earlier and I was really close to him. There was 3 or 4 of us. We lived together, so it was poignant really at the time. And it affected Paul Maloney and Paul Harrigan and I, because we all kind of lived together, and a fella called Paul Wade as well. So it was a difficult time for everyone, but you know, sometimes, you know, the luck shines down on you and it works out.
You feel those personal connections very closely, don't you?
Yeah, because as I said to you earlier, you only have possibly 5 friends. So if one of them gets killed, you're, you know, obviously I've got plenty of friends, but it's be a small circle of people that I trust with my, you know, your personal life or your thoughts. That you know, so it's, you know, it's obviously when someone dies, it's difficult.
And Kieran Kelly would have been.
He was still actually grew up together. You know, he was starting the same time as me. Pat Dobbs and him were really close till Pat moved to England. So, yeah, he was a good, fun fella. He lived life, and he's sadly taken too early.
One thing people often observe about you is a great natural talent, and that's absolutely right. Everybody knows how naturally skilled and gifted you are on a horse, but to what extent does that notion sustain you through good times and bad? The fact that there is a belief in your ability, or isn't there?
Well, you have to believe in yourself anyway. Whether anybody else does is another thing. But you know, if you believe in yourself, I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but I've always found riding the horse reasonably easy. And I'd say only when I got injured was the first time I found that, you know, if it's like a car with its tracking. When I was coming back, I was balancing on my left leg more than my right. And it was the first time that I found it a little bit alien. But other than that, I've always found riding the horses fairly easy. And you know, to just, they're animals, but I think you can sometimes think what they're going to do next, especially a boisterous one. And yeah, I suppose it's why we do it, isn't it?
And you feel you have time always. That's, I guess, the difference between someone who's completely at ease with what they're doing and someone who has to work much harder at it.
Yeah, and sometimes on a horse, the most reactive thing you can do is do nothing. You know, just sit there. You know, if the horse is playing up or whatever, just sit there rather than trying to correct it or smack it or whatever. You know, sometimes it's just sit quiet. Yeah, I don't know. Everyone says there are different ways of riding. I suppose there's a bit of a puzzle, especially the bigger races. You know, it becomes more tactical. So, you know, it's as I say, it's a bit of a puzzle.
Is it a cliche to suggest there's a Jamie Spencer style of riding or a Jamie Spencer way of doing things? It's a typical Spencer ride. He does this. It works like that.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's just kind of.
Does it annoy you?
Sometimes, yeah. Well, it's kind of. You just try and ride the horse to achieve its best position by using its energy as evenly as possible. Yes, sometimes you ride a bad race and you're out of position, but what can you do? Sometimes you're handy and you're doing too much, and well, you can't. You know, the die is cast. So yeah, it can be frustrating, but you know, I've got big shoulders.
But nobody's got shoulders that are that big, have they?
No, but I just kind of.
No one's impervious to it.
No, but you just have to. You go out there when the stall's open. You believe you're doing the right thing, and if it ends up being the wrong thing, well then, you know, you take the hit for it. Whether that means going too fast or not getting there. You know, mistakes are made. As I say, most of the time we're losing. So it's you got to be. You know, it's not a sport for. You know, for weak people, I guess.
And when you're sitting there with a double handful, you know, half a furlong out and still haven't appeared not to have pressed all the buttons, it's not something that everybody else can pull off. Is that always in a bid to get the horse to do as little as possible, or is there ever any element of?
No, sometimes I do that because the horse is going so easily. It's just horse can win 5 lengths, but it's, you know, sometimes fun to win a length. You know, it's not bravado or anything like that. It's just sometimes it becomes fun. You know, it's just you enjoy riding the horse and you're coming there cruising. Watch Charlie Swan do it for 20 years. It's, you know, sometimes it's. You know, most of the time you just get on with the job and win the race. But sometimes if you're going that easily, you can hold on.
You do enjoy that element of being a little bit cheeky. There is an element of the showman in you, isn't there?
Yeah, and I don't really know where that's from. It's not really my personality, kind of. You know, it's yeah. Sometimes it's, you know, it's. I guess it's how the horse was feeling at the time.
But is actually riding racehorses the best way that, or the most comfortable way you find of expressing yourself?
Well, it's you know, it's just you're free of everyone for that period of time. From when the stall's open, it's just you and the horse, isn't it? So it's I don't know. It's hard to explain what riding a horse is like. You'll never be able to do anything that gives you the same exhilaration that. And sometimes not even when you're winning. You know, sometimes you're going through a race and there's a tight gap and you get through it, and it's just like it's a buzz. It's just too difficult to explain. All riders will understand it, but it's why we all do it. You know, just the enjoyment, and as I say, it's all down to winning in the end.
And that sense of freedom, that sense of pure, liberated, unadulterated joy and pleasure.
Couldn't think of anything worse than to go racing on a day that I wasn't riding. Other than go to Cheltenham for one day or something like that. But other than that, I couldn't think of anything worse than mixing with people, like, and ask questions or whatever. It's just like like a sound of misery. Like I wouldn't go to the sales unless I had to go to the sales.
Because you don't want to chitter-chatter.
Yeah, it's just like, it's just not something that I enjoy. You know, time wasting is a waste of time, isn't it?
So you're in this for a bit yet, aren't you?
Yeah, hopefully, you know, I don't plan too far ahead, but I have plans, but I don't plan too far ahead. And, you know, as I say, I'm enjoying it. I think I've got some nice horses to ride here and in Ireland this year, so hopefully, you know, it'll be a good season and stay in one piece.
Who's really getting your blood pumping at the moment? Which horses are making you think, I can have a big say in Group 1 races?
I thought Castle Star could beat Perfect Power if they meet 3 times, it could be 2-1 or whatever. I think there's not much between those two, and they seem to be the best sprinting coals. So
is he Commonwealth Cup Castle Star?
I would imagine so. Yeah, I think that'd be the plan, and he'll probably have a race beforehand.
What would it mean to you to come full circle for the Stacks and ride a big Group 1 Royal Ascot winner for Fozzie Stack in his own name?
Yeah. I suppose our teacher would think we weren't paying too much attention if one ended up a trainer and the other ended up a jockey. There was only 4 of us in the class. So the girl was the teacher and the other was Tom Wagner.
That was it?
Yeah.
That was the class?
Yeah. So not much room to copy each other's homework.
And you rode quite a bit abroad last season. We were at Super Bowl last week.
Yeah.
Playing a starring role.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I got the ball thrown to me and I didn't catch it. The poor fella behind me was about 6 foot. He got the brunt of it. So, it's a fantastic sporting event. Really enjoyed it. I followed American football for the last maybe 10 seasons. Got into it followed Brady at the Patriots, and then just started following him, and then just got more and more into it. And the more you understand it, the more you see the dynamics of it all. And that was a brilliant game, because it's boring if you go to a game and one team is winning by 24 points and the other 0. But they were toing and froing, and obviously the Bengals are always good when they come from behind, and they got back in front, and then obviously the Rams got a late score. So it was an exciting game. It was long, but it was exciting. Well,
it takes a top-class sportsman to appreciate top-class sport played at its best. Jamie, thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks, Nick.
I'm glad I managed to get you to sit in that seat eventually. And good luck for 2022, wherever it takes you.
Thanks very much, Nick.
Thank you. Jamie Spencer, champion jockey in England and in Ireland, and with another potentially exciting season ahead. Thanks to all my guests. Thanks to you for watching. Back here to do it again next week. Bye-bye.